There are moments in Hollywood where the most dramatic stories don't happen on screen. They happen behind the scenes. Quiet decisions, creative breakups, and people walking away at the height of something great. That just happened with the Batman 2, one of the most anticipated sequels in recent memory. Just lost a key force behind its incredible look and feel. A secret weapon, really, and now that he's gone, this film may never feel the same again. You may not know his name, but you definitely know his work. Greig Fraser, the cinematographer behind The Batman, was the man who helped craft Matt Reeves' dark, rainy, tortured version of Gotham. He wasn't just pointing cameras. He was telling an emotional story with every shot, every shadow, and every silent moment. And for The Batman 2, he's not coming back. That matters way more than it sounds. Let's go back for a moment. When The Batman released in 2022, it was more than just a superhero film. It was noir, it was slow burn, and it was full of pain and atmosphere. It felt nothing like a Marvel blockbuster. Audiences didn't just watch a Batman movie. They felt inhabiting his grief. And a huge part of that came from the way the movie looked, the lighting, the tone, the cinematography. Gotham itself was practically a character soaked in rain, shadows, and silence. That was Greig Fraser's doing. Fraser is the same guy who worked on Dune, Rogue One, and Zero Dark 30. He paints pictures with his lens. His work doesn't just capture actors, it captures emotion. He lights characters, not just sets. It's subtle, powerful work you don't always notice, but you definitely feel. And that's why when he quietly exited The Batman Part 2, people inside the industry paused. Reeves lost a partner. Batman lost a voice. Sure, Matt Reeves is still directing. Robert Pattinson is back as Bruce Wayne. Zoe Kravitz is expected to return. The story is still moving forward. But without Fraser behind the camera, something critical has shifted. It's the kind of change casual fans might not spot right away. But film lovers, people who felt the silence and the sadness in every frame, they'll notice it. It's like removing the strings from a symphony. The notes are still there, but the feeling? It's not quite the same. Think about this. Remember the first time Batman walked out of the shadows in the original film? No dramatic music. Just footsteps. Just tension. Or that scene at the funeral where everything felt on the edge, like time had slowed down. Or the flare-lit escape from the flooded stadium. Every one of those scenes owes part of its emotional power to Fraser's eye. He made us feel like Gotham was swallowing its own people whole. That wasn't just directing. That was lighting. Contrast, camera choice, texture. Losing Fraser is like losing a chapter of that emotional storytelling. He wasn't forced out. This seems more like a quiet departure. Industry whispers point to scheduling conflicts, exhaustion, creative shifts, maybe even a sense of burnout. After all, Fraser has been working on massive back-to-back projects like Dune, The Batman, Rogue One. He's known for intense, emotionally heavy films. At some point, even artists need to breathe. And yet, fans are left wondering, will the Batman to feel the same without him? The studio certainly hopes so. They've brought in Eric Messerschmidt, another Oscar-winning cinematographer. He did Mank, a bold and clean black-and-white film that paid homage to old-school Hollywood. He's talented, no question. He has a look of his own. But he's very different from Fraser. Messerschmitt's style is more stylized, precise, clean. His shadows don't feel as dirty or haunting. His lighting is more theatrical than emotional. That's not bad, it's just not the Batman we remember. Can he adapt? Can he match the trauma, the silence, and the pain that made audiences fall in love with this new version of Gotham? That's the big unknown. Because when you swap out a director of photography, especially one as deeply tied to the soul of a film as Fraser was, you're not just changing visuals. You're changing everything. The chemistry between Matt Reeves and Greig Fraser was quiet but powerful. They aren't flashy collaborators. They're deep thinkers, methodical storytellers. They painted pain beneath every scene. And they did it together, like two jazz musicians riffing in minor keys. Now, that duo is broken. We don't know the full reason why Fraser left, and maybe we never will. Maybe he needed peace. Maybe the Batman franchise, with all the pressure of sequels and spin-offs, became too big, too corporate. Maybe it stopped feeling like art and started feeling like expectation. Sometimes, the biggest creative decisions don't happen over fights or money, but over quiet realizations. Maybe he simply didn't see himself in Gotham anymore. But for us, for fans, it means the Batman 2 now faces its biggest emotional test. Can this world still feel deep, moody, and poetic without the man who helped shape it? Because the Batman wasn't just about Bruce Wayne, it was about visuals that made you feel grief before anyone even spoke a word. Without Fraser's eye, will the Batman 2 still hurt the way it's supposed to? Or will it simply look pretty and empty? That emotional weight, that sadness in the shadows, that might disappear. Up next, we'll explore the what now, the look of Eric Messerschmidt, what Matt Reeves has planned for the sequel, and what this change really means for the future of Gotham's darkest tale. Because make no mistake, the Batman 2 is still coming, but it just lost its soul's lens, its quiet heartbeat, its secret weapon. But for all that's changed, one thing hasn't: the heart behind the camera. Matt Reeves isn't chasing a bigger budget or a louder spectacle. He's chasing something more elusive: truth. And truth is harder to catch when success weighs on your shoulders. There's a quiet anxiety that settles in when people expect greatness. The kind that makes you question every decision, second-guess every scene. But it also forces something much deeper: growth. And if the Batman was about vengeance, Part 2 is about what happens after vengeance doesn't fix anything. What happens when the pain is still there, quietly waiting for you after the cape comes off? Robert Pattinson knows that weight. In between takes, he's not just slipping into the suit, he's slipping into the skin of a man haunted by his own meaning. Bruce Wayne is no longer the frightening force in the dark. Now, he's someone trying to connect, and that's harder. Pain is easy when you hide. Healing takes courage. And in this film, Bruce might finally have to ask, who is he without the mask? That emotional shift is now the story's real challenge. Less about punching through windows, more about breaking through walls, emotional ones. The ones built over years of trauma and silence. Kravitz's Catwoman, if she returns, won't just be a love interest. She'll be a mirror, again, but one reflecting something softer, more uncertain. A Bruce who doesn't just protect his city, but wants to belong to it. And that subtle shift from fear to connection might be harder to act than any rooftop leap. But that's where the real beauty begins, in the quiet, in the looks between scenes, in the pauses no one writes. Colin Farrell's Penguin is changing too. He's no longer climbing the ladder, we just watched him at the top of his own show. The Penguin, slowly becoming the kingpin he always threatened to be. Now that character steps back into the movie with power, danger, and visibility. He's no longer hiding in the shadows, he is the shadow. And that changes how Gotham breathes. The city is angrier, louder, more unpredictable, and somehow more real. But it's not just about characters evolving, it's about the process evolving too. The first movie was filmed in near silence, during the uncertainty of the world's lockdown. Empty streets, quiet studios, fewer eyes watching. There was space to experiment, to take wild artistic swings. That space is gone now. The expectations are louder, the internet is faster, leaks from the set, fan theories, leaked photos, studio pressures. It's all a kind of noise, and it threatens to drown out the original voice of the film. Because here's the truth. Hollywood rarely talks about. Success can make you safer. The more a studio sees dollar signs, the more it wants what worked last time. But the Batman was never built on safety. It was built on risk, on moody silence, on trusting the audience to feel, not be told. And now the decision becomes trickier. Do you tell the same story louder, brighter, faster? Or do you take an even bigger risk and go quieter, darker, more personal? That's the real story of The Batman 2. It's not just losing its famous secret weapon, that silence, that underdog spirit, that unexpected place in time. It's dealing with the loss head-on. And sometimes, the absence of a safety net is the one thing that lets true storytelling fly. Behind the scenes, you can already feel that reckoning. The production has had to adjust, rethink, and rebuild parts of itself. Locations that once offered moody, perfectly gothic backdrops are now less accessible. Crew members who once worked quietly in the shadows now have 40 interviews waiting in their inbox. Even the cinematography, that now iconic black and red tone, scrutinized more than ever. Everyone knows exactly what they want now. And that's the danger of success. You lose the permission to fail. But the great filmmakers, people like Reeves, thrive in that struggle. Because when you're backed into a creative corner, you have to fight for meaning. You have to drill deeper into your idea. Everyone knows Batman is a symbol. But few ask, what does that symbol mean when people stop fearing it? What happens when the monster becomes familiar? That's the question driving this film, and just maybe, the real enemy this time isn't a clown in face paint or a trickster with riddles. Maybe it's comfort. Maybe it's knowing what to expect, not just for Gotham, but for Bruce Wayne himself. And the only way to make the audience feel again is to break those expectations, which is why the creative team is now pouring themselves into the unseen parts of the story. The relationships, the quiet wounds, the flashbacks Bruce may never speak of but still relives every night. The lingering guilt, not from the violence done but from the love lost. That's the emotional gravity pulling Bruce down now. Not just losing parents or trust, but the terrifying thought that maybe Gotham doesn't need him anymore. So, who is Batman without Gotham's fear? That's what makes this sequel more than just a follow-up. It's a test. Can Bruce learn to exist in a city getting stronger without needing to be its pain? Can the bat signal mean something more than a call to fight? And here's the twist, losing that secret weapon might actually be the key. Maybe this film had to let go of that perfect quiet, that surprise darkness, that haunting edge, to find something new, something raw, a connection. Bruce reaching beyond the cowl. Gotham looking back at him, not as a legend, but as a man. The crew knows it. The actors feel it. The music is changing slowly. That unforgettable theme by Michael Giacchino, that deep, operatic heartbeats being dissected, reshaped into something new. The sound of a Batman who isn't just feared, but understood. And that's what this sequel is fighting for, not just cinematic excellence, not just box office numbers, but something deeper. Emotional growth, vulnerability, letting your hero bleed a little more on the inside than on the outside. That's how you evolve a myth. That's how you survive beyond the visuals. So when the lights dim in the theater and the first frame of The Batman Part 2 flickers into being KIF, it does what it's meant to. There won't be roaring applause. Right away, there'll be silence. The kind that says, "We're listening." The kind that welcomes pain and still reaches a hand forward. Losing that secret weapon hurt. But sometimes, it's only when the armor cracks that the real soul gets through, and that might be the bravest Batman story yet.